Hello, and welcome to this Tungsten Replicator Masterclass training session. Today we are going to look at working with MongoDB. My name is Chris Parker, VP of Customer Success here at Continuant. In this short course, we're going to quickly review the Replicator Flow and how we write specifically into Mongo. We'll look at the MongoDB specific prerequisites and review the configurations. So the Replicator Flow. So we've covered this quite a lot in previous sessions in terms of how the extractor works by downloading the binary logs, converting those binary logs at transactional level into THL files, and those THL files then being picked up by the applier. In the case of Mongo, once those THL files have been picked up, we then apply that data into Mongo using the Mongo libraries. Now we do only replicate data. Obviously, structural changes in Mongo are not really a thing anyway. So part of the process is any DDL that happens in MySQL is dropped, and we're just literally replicating all of that DML. How do the objects map? Well, a MySQL database is a Mongo database. A MySQL table becomes a Mongo collection, and a row of data in MySQL becomes a document within Mongo. So that's how they will map. Obviously, that will be useful if you're working with Mongo and you want to compare the two side by side. All of the prerequisites are in our online docs, docs.continuant.com. Strongly advise you to read through them in detail, as they will go and explain all the specifics in terms of supported versions of Java, Ruby, etc., and all the best practices. There's a number of network ports that will be required to be opened between Extractor and Applier and the Applier and your Mongo, and also obviously MySQL settings that will be required in your source database. Additionally, for MySQL, you will need to be in row-based logging for your binary logs. In terms of MongoDB, obviously you need a user account. We can also replicate into Atlas, which is the cloud-based version of Mongo. So if you are using Atlas, you will also need to export some certificates, set up the security, and add the replicator host that you're replicating from into the whitelist within Atlas. So what does this look like in terms of configuration? The extractor configuration, no different to a normal extractor. The additional point here is to have enable heterogeneous service is true. This will tell the extractor that you intend to replicate into a non-MySQL target. And then we have some filters here for drop statement data. Obviously, we don't need DDL, so we drop that. And then the replicate filter to ensure that we only replicate what we need. Obviously, with MySQL to Mongo, you may not want to replicate everything. If you do want to replicate everything in your MySQL database, at least add the ignore in so that the MySQL database doesn't get replicated, because that will obviously not be needed in Mongo. Otherwise, you can use the replicate.do and list your schema table combinations here that you actually want to replicate. In terms of Mongo, there are two slightly different configs depending upon whether you're going to Mongo Atlas or just regular Mongo. For Mongo Atlas, the default section is pretty much the same. There's a few SSL properties here that need disabling. So the RMI SSL, THL SSL, and RMI authentication. But then what happens is this is all set up as part of the certificates that you export with Atlas. In terms of the session information, data source type is MongoDB, your credentials, the port number that you are replicating to. Then the replication host becomes the endpoint from MongoDB that you'll be able to get from the dashboard of Atlas. And then you also need to apply this particular connect string to enable the replicator to connect correctly to your Mongo database. For regular Mongo, all of the same. The only difference is you don't need all of that Atlas relevant stuff in the service definition down here. And that's it. Once you've got that in place, you'll be able to replicate quite happily in real time from MySQL directly into your MongoDB targets. So in summary, we looked at the replicator flow, how we replicate out of MySQL and into Mongo. We looked at the prerequisites for your replicators and also specifically for Mongo. And then we looked at the configuration files that are required to set up a workflow from MySQL into either MongoDB or MongoDB Atlas. It was a very short course, but I hope you found it useful and will enable you to get started replicating into Mongo in no time at all. So thank you for listening. Take care and goodbye.